yeah, it can be. On the other hand, though, I am taking the overs or the optimistic view on the Red Sox has fared me fairly well. If only
Yeah.
the Red Sox had kept playing and won the division, they really would have done well for me. But regardless, Red Sox closing in on the postseason. We talked about the collapses happening across the major leagues. It does seem that, fortunately for them, the Red Sox are going to avoid one of those collapses because we were talking in mid-August that where they were at, like if they ended up missing the playoffs, it would constitute an epic collapse. They tried. They've really tried, but it seems fairly certain, thanks to the tiebreakers and the work they did earlier in the season, that they're going to back into the playoffs. Um, so I guess looking a week or a few days ahead, um, are the Red Sox well positioned for the playoffs? And I think in one sense they are. I think the fact that they are able to line up their pitching with at least their top of their rotation is a big advantage, obviously. The one area where I mean, there's a lot of areas that they have weaknesses, obviously. But the one area that maybe worries me the most, because it was an area that maybe a week ago I would have said that they're in good position, is with Chapman. I just think Chapman is not, his velocity has not really fallen, but he's just not missing as many bats as he was early in the season. And that was at least one of those things that I was counting on them being able to hang their hat on. And now I don't know as much. And I am worried because we know what Chapman is capable of if he is not missing bats.
Yeah, he's capable of
Capable.
just disaster
Right. Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
postseason. The big thing for me is looking at the way they have the rotation lined up. They're not going to have to pitch Crochet again, so he'll get game one. And then you really have to decide between uh, Giolito and Bayo and when you want to start each one of them. I think it's currently lined up that Bayo, it would go Crochet, Bayo, Giolito. I think they need to flip those latter two because the numbers with Bayo getting an extra day of rest versus not getting the extra are like stark. It's like a mid four ERA and a sub two ERA. It's the same thing with Crochet, and he'll get the extra day. And I just think Giolito gives you a better chance when he's not sharp to still win a game. Like you saw it in Toronto during the first game. He went like 4 2/3 or whatever it was, but he only gave up a run. He looked awful, but he still kind of fought his way through the game and gave you a chance to win. For as much as I love Bayo and I think he's like on the ascent of being a true number two, number three starter, if it unravels on him quickly in a playoff, it's gonna unravel completely, and you're gonna you're gonna waste a game. And I would rather them try to fight and scratch and claw and win that second game, and if they don't, he gets the extra day, and it's kind of all on his shoulders versus potentially punting that second game and then going into a Giolito slash bullpen game three on the road in New York, in Detroit, whatever it might be. So that's the big thing I'm kind of paying attention to is how they decide to go about that because they can go either way. Magic number's one with 8 outcomes left. Like they're going to get in, and it doesn't really matter because they're not going to win the division. So they're going to go on the road and play somebody anyway. So, uh, however they line that up is how it's going to influence how I feel about them going into that series.
I will start with say something nice about the Red Sox. Ben, I don't know if you're just saying it not kind of absentmindedly, them backing into the playoffs, I think is what you said. I actually disagree with that assessment. Like a week ago, I was like, they're gonna blow this because you look at Toronto and Detroit, down the stretch. Would they lose the first game of the? Where were they just at before? Where were they last
Uh,
weekend? I already forget.
Tampa.
Tampa. Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
lost a game in Tampa, right? So it looked like, and then they were down, or it
There was
didn't
a
look
crochet
good.
start in Tampa, didn't? Or
Yeah,
am
like
I?
three
Yeah.
days ago, it didn't look good, and they got off the mat. They took care of business for the. Oh no, they lost Sunday night in Tampa.
That's what it was. They won
Uh,
the first 2 games of
they
that
won the
series.
first two and lost Sunday night, but like they didn't look overly impressive in the first two. Tampa, there was the one game where like it was a Candelario made an error or something, and
Yeah.
that opened it up. Like there was, so they kind of got some help there, and it just didn't feel great coming out of that. And they've gone into Toronto and just kicked the shit out of them, and like they've gotten a lot of help. The fact that the Guardians are playing the Tigers is actually worked in their benefit, and like they kind of needed the Tigers to whatever. Like so I'll give them credit. Like they have steadied the ship when they've needed to. They've won 4 of their last 5 technically. They've looked good doing it. Uh, Credit to them. Like they've positioned themselves to be a wild card team. To partially Keegan's point too. Like I give them. I think they're well positioned because like almost by the fact that they can't really get any higher in the standings, they can sit back and readjust. Whereas like I think I saw somewhere like every team basically that they could play in the first round might have to pitch their starter, their ace on
On
Sunday
Sunday.
or some point
Yeah.
this weekend to like and that's an interesting thing too. If you're a team like that, it's like, do you really want to throw your ace out there to secure home field? If they buy, there's just so many machinations and things like that. So they're well positioned in that regard. To Keegan's point about the pitching, I think uh, I hope at least they put all of the kids on on the playoff roster from a pitching standpoint. Like I like their bullpen a lot more with Tolley early out there. And maybe you're a little lefty heavy, but whatever. I think those are the kind of kids those are the kind of pitchers that good teams in the playoffs that go on runs always seem to have, and it's cool that they have that.
Detroit last year was like the perfect example of that.
Right? Yeah. Like I was at the game. This is the other thing. They get bludgeoned by the A's on that getaway day. But I was at that game, and like the only highlight was like Tolley looked awesome, and like I think he is built for that role. So
Yeah.
I think that eases some of the concerns about Chapman for me, where it's like I think they can really shorten a game with those two, plus Whitlock, plus they've got a good bullpen. I think that, and that's huge this time of year. I almost use this as my rant, but I knew we were going to talk about the Red Sox. So I will say, I just want to hit on this. Breslow this week coming out and being like, shit, man, if we had known that like our 2 best players were going to get hurt, we probably would have done more at the deadline. It's like, yeah, you should have done more at the deadline anyway and preempted that. Are you a big boy or are you not? Like, do you want to win a World Series this year or not? And like that's been my biggest issue. I know I'm a broken record at this point, but all year they have not acted like a team that they're gonna pretend that they are at the end of this season, right? Like we were close. We were just like, no, you've been close all year. Like you were early, and they did not address it in a way that made sense. I know that's probably unfair for me to say, considering that it would have probably cost them a guy like Tolley or early in one of those trades, but whatever. I don't care. They could have gotten if not Suarez, but like a bat, whether it's Naylor or something like that. They could have gotten another pitcher. They clearly didn't do enough there. So like to to bemoan your performance, it turns into like the hot dog meme. It's like we're all trying to find the guy who did this. It's like, yeah, that could have been you. And if you thought that you were ready to make a run and win World Series this year, or at least contend for one, you should have done more at the deadline under the assumption that something bad was going to happen at some point. And because of that, I do not think they are built for a deep run. Because as good as I think the bullpen is, as good as I think the young arms are, I'm sticking with the idea that they are going to get it shoved up their asses by guys who are legitimate men on the mound, and they are going to stuff it down the Rob Refsnyder and Romy Gonzalez's of the world's throats. I think that's, maybe I'll be wrong, and if I am, I will be the first one to say it, but I think they aren't built for this. That's just my opinion.
The way the lineup looks when Jarren Duran is leading off versus batting 6th or 7th is, it's kind of hard to understand because he was the leadoff hitter for 2.5 years prior to this, and then Roman Anthony comes in and takes his job and is the best leadoff hitter in the sport for 2.5 months. He goes down, and you kind of have to go back to the way life was before, and I think that played into the early results too, where they were like, "Oh God, we were set up so nicely, and everything we were doing was right, and now we have to go back to what we were doing before when it wasn't working." And I think that played into the results early on, and they've started to figure it out. Like Story has taken off. Yoshida looks like a real player again for the first time in a year.
I mean, if he plays,
Romy-
if they play Toronto, that'll be great. I have a
I,
theory.
yeah,
I have a
I-
theory
like,
about why he can hit in Toronto. My theory about Toronto is that Toronto is the most like a Japanese baseball stadium.
I had the
Were you going to
same
say the same
exact
thing?
thought last
Yeah,
night.
it's the
I
most
had
like
the
a
same-
Japanese baseball.
I was like, this
stadium.
looks like
Yeah,
Tokyo Dome.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I think there's a comfort. Sorry.
Well,
go
you
ahead.
better hope they play him in the ALDS then, because
I had the same thought. That's funny. Like Tarek Skubal is gonna just pick up
right.
tiny little Masa Yoshida, stuff him in a locker, take his lunch money, date his girlfriend, and then like go smoke cigarettes under the bleachers after the game. Like, give me a break. It's just their lineup does not scare me at all. If I have a halfway decent starting rotation in the bullpen that just shoves. Like,
Right, you're gonna have one of the best pitching staffs in the world, obviously, because they're in the playoffs, going against Rob Refsnyder, Romy Gonzalez, like you said, Yoshida, Nathaniel Lowe,
yeah.
Cedon Rafaelo, who I
Yeah.
don't think has a hit in 4 months.
Don't-
Like,
We got to spend a lot of
I'd
time
be
talking about
shocked if
Rafael in the
Rafael
off
does-
season. Yeah, the off season. We got to spend a lot
Like,
of time talking about.
I
him
like
'cause
him. I love watching him
Yeah.
play, but like that is the perfect guy where it's like we have extra time to prepare. Like that's the thing is in the
Yeah.
playoffs, every game is like a season, and you just have so much. Everything is magnified, and like they're gonna pick up something on him in the first inning of the first game, and he's not gonna touch the ball the rest of the
If there could be an over
the
under
rest of the
for
series.
amount of swinging strikeouts on sliders away, like I would take the over on Rafael.
Yeah, there's like some Yankees or Tigers scouts sitting
Yeah.
or Guardians even like sitting in Toronto right now,
Oh, the
like
Guardians
filing a
are
report
killing
on him. It's just like there's no way he's gonna. Touch
Yeah,
it.
every
Yeah.
pitcher for the Guardians throws a nasty 95-mile-per-hour sweeper.
Right.
Yeah, I think like even with the Yankees are already starting to like troll a little bit, like Buck Martinez for his remark a couple weeks ago about how the Yankees are a bad baseball team. Now that they might actually surpass Toronto, but I do actually think it is still true. Like I don't think the Yankees are a good baseball team, but come the postseason and come nut cutting time, like it is now,
Yeah.
it's not about who has the best team. It's about who has those studs. And like, the Tigers, they got Skubal, and the Yankees, they've got Judge and Fried. And it's like, you got those guys, and the Red Sox don't have those guys. I mean, they have Crochet, but really like Bregman, who I think at one point we were hoping he was one of those guys. I mean, he has not been it. Obviously, their most guy is hurt, and their other most guy is in San Francisco. So, I mean, this is,
no.
yeah.
The one guy that you were talking about is 21 too, by the way. Like,
right.
I will say, like, Bregman, this could be Bregman time. Like, that is the one thing where if you buy into voodoo and things like that, where it's like playoff magic, he's the one guy who's got like the magic fairy beans. So like that is one thing to keep in mind. I was gonna make one other point. Damn it, I forget. But let it be. Yeah, I just want to take credit. Victory lap that like 4 weeks ago when the Red Sox were winning 8 in a row or whatever, and the Yankees were terrible. I predicted that the Yankees would beat the Red Sox in the first round. So for that exact reason is that I just think like in a short series, especially they have so much more talent.
They
Looking
might,
at a
they might
potential
not even
matchup
see him
between
in the
those
first
teams.
round though. Like
I know that's the thing. Yeah, at this point, yeah.
On paper, I would agree with you. I think there's a very real, like, little brother syndrome with the Yankees right now and the Red Sox, and they haven't beaten them in a playoff series since 2003. This core of Yankees, even though it's not really a core, it's like Judge, and that's kind of it because they had a lot of turnover this offseason, have never beaten the Red Sox in a significant game ever. I think that's a real thing. And even if it's at Yankee Stadium where they throw all their lefties in there and they're hitting pop fly home runs, the Red Sox can't match that. Like, I get it. I still think there's something there.
I think that the Yankees right now are a different Yankees team than they've been when they played the Red Sox earlier this season, because I think Aaron Boone has been shamed, forced, like coerced into finally fielding a lineup that is actually like their best lineup of players. So I just feel like the Yankees are finally optimized the way that they should have been, but Boone, through his trust in his players or whatever, has kind of resisted all year long.
Yeah, I actually was just looking it up. Like outside of Crochet, like I'm just looking at literally like the baseball reference page of the Yankees where it shows like the headshots at the top based on WAR, and it's Judge, Bellinger, Rodon, Freed, Chisholm, and Grisham, and it's like I think the only guy on the Red Sox I would take before any of those guys is Crochet, maybe Bregman, and it's like that's in a 3 or 5 game series. Even I think that I'd take my chances with that. So it's a good rotation.
Yeah.
But I was just looking up Bayo's numbers versus the Yankees are insane this year. To Keegan's point, like I guess maybe I just have been sleeping on how much the Red Sox have dummied the Yankees this year.
It's his entire career. Even if you look beyond like his rookie year, I think he went like 6 shut against them when he was bad. He was really bad that year, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah, and well, and the other thing with Bayo is like Bayo is might be the only guy in this series, well, Crochet too, worth watching for like what this means beyond this year. Because like you want to say like, okay, well, they're getting into the playoffs for the first time in 4 years, they're building something, but like Story might opt out, Bregman might opt out, Giolito might opt out, right? He can opt out.
He will, yeah.
And so Mayer's
Again
not
now,
playing, Campbell's not playing. Obviously Anthony's not
Anthony
playing.
won't.
So in a way, like this is not a roster or a line. Duran might be gone. Yoshida will most likely be gone. Like this is not a roster that's building itself. This is basically like probably the only, if we're lucky, this is the only time we'll see this iteration of the Red Sox in the postseason, because by the time next season rolls around, it'll look
what this
entirely
is
different.
You know what this kind of feels like is the Isaiah Thomas Celtics.
Sure.
At this point.
Yeah, that's
you know what I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
Or it's like I know that it's not apples and oranges, but it's a good team that's, been fought above its weight, but this isn't the final product. And like it's not a perfect analogy because like the Brown and Tatum are already here, they're just hurt, but it's kind of where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, Jaren Duran and Isaiah Thomas, he's the guy that in 4 years, for some reason, people will be looking back fondly and belovedly. But like, guys, he was never really as good as you thought he was.
There's like, there's a Kelly Olynyk everywhere you look. It's just a team of Kelly Olynyks. Like, it's just.
Who is Kelly Olynyk on the Red Sox?
Romy Gonzalez.
I like Romy Gonzalez though. I don't want to be.
So do I. I love Kelly Olynyk. He was a great shooter.
Honestly, it might be Yoshida.
Yoshida is Jay Crowder.
That's a good one too. He's a likable Jay Crowder.
Right.
Well, not likable. I don't really like Yoshida either, but it's just yeah.
I think as a person he's likable. I never want to watch him pick up a bat again. But
yeah.
Mike mentioned or maybe it was Ben, just Bayo. Seeing what he is like one of the biggest things you'll get out of this postseason. I think you're going to find out which of the 3 outfielders you're going to ship off to San Diego in this series, because Anthony, it's his team, obviously. He's not going to be playing. But I've been all aboard the Duran train, but the last 2 months it's been like maybe Rafaelo's the guy to go. Maybe it's Abreu. Are you going to sell high if this is selling high? The injury thing kind of throws a wrench into it, but you've got one right-handed bat in there, but he's your worst bat and he's your best defender. You've got Duran, he still has value, and I would get rid of him. I would get rid of 2 of them, to be honest with you, but you get rid of him.
I'll drive Rafael and Duran to the airport. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've been begging for them to ship his ass out of here for months. So
I think like Rafael. I'm just I'm a squid.
I like Rafael too. I was talking about Duran.
I would trade Duran and Abreu. I'd look at. I just think like outfielders are maybe easier to bring in and refill those positions. It all depends on what's out there, right? Like, I mean, what are you trading them for?
I don't know.
But Abreu, for 6 years, where they would just bring in a dude and he would hit.
Is it Joe Ryan?
But right field has been. It was a revolving door. They had no one to play right field until Abreu came in. Like, you need someone who can play right field.
I like watching Cedon Rafaela, so I'm being selfish.
They got some decent numbers out of bad players in right field. Like Hunter Renfroe had a great year. Tyler O'Neill played left, but he had a great year. Like
Yeah, that's
you can
totally
bring in
different.
these guys and not really worry about it.
I
Huh?
guess. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like Rafaela's defense too, but like you got to hit eventually.
Right.
Likeable JBJ.
Oh, jeez.